Hello everybody, I want to thank a new Walmart driver by the name of Ian for the inspiration to revise my ETD calculator worksheet. I met Ian a few weeks ago when mentoring new drivers and the discussion came up about ETDs. Oh, I forgot to mention in the first video I didn't state that ETD stands for estimated time of departure. I apologize. Getting back to the story, he said no problem, it's just like an ETA but you have to add an hour.
That's good. You sure you ain't the smartest guy in the world? Yeah.
I said, Ian, you can't have a complex mathematical formula and make it simple just by adding a big number like 1. Do you know how many people you're going to put out of work? We spend months training drivers how to understand this stuff. With all kidding aside, he is correct, at least in the most common situation of a simple drop and hook or a live unload. Drivers and equipment are always moving around. Walmart's load matching system is highly computerized with a certain level of human oversight. Walmart commonly attempts to assign your next load during the 90 minutes prior to your final ETD. They need to know when you'll be done with all of the assigned work given to you and when you'll be ready to roll. That's your estimated time of departure. You can update your ETD as often as necessary prior to receiving your next dispatch. You need to allocate time for all tasks to be performed, including pre-trip and post-trip inspections, truck or trailer repairs, fueling, dropping and hooking, loading and unloading, traffic delays, weather and road conditions. The clock is always ticking. Plan time for restroom pit stops, showering, eating, and shopping. Be sure to account for your 10-hour rest break. You want to build in a little extra time cushion for dispatches on your second to last workday and your go-home day. You want to raise the flag on a load that takes you too far away, preventing you from getting back to your distribution center on your last day. When it's your day to go home, you're going home. We don't stay an extra day in the truck. Walmart places great value on your home time. Enjoy it. When you receive a new load, it is assumed that you will be able to complete the required assignment, including any store, vendor, personal, or logbook time constraints. You need to examine the details provided and notify your coordinator ASAP of any conflict or potential failures. I want to share a few of the changes in version 2.0 of my ETD calculator worksheet. Being that we use e-logs, you want to make sure that you have 8, 11, and 14 hours showing on your available clocks before starting your workday. I added a box to enter your time you logged off duty the prior day, right next to the box to enter your start of day for the current day. I usually preload my clipboard with a new sheet when ending my day, so it's ready to go first thing the next morning. My worksheet utilizes a 2-line entry for each stop. I added an ETA column to allocate drive time. The ETD column reflects estimated time for tasks on each location, but then morphs into an actual departure time to increase accuracy as your day progresses. The ETA and ETD column utilize the time of day for entries. The last 2 columns are your remaining 11-hour daily and 70-hour workweek countdown clocks. I want to thank our certified driver trainer Donald for the tip to simplify and speed up the 70-hour calculation. I integrated the math into this worksheet. The 70-hour accuracy becomes more important as you near your last 2 days of work. Okay everybody, here's a quick overview of the top. It's largely unchanged of the trip record. I did move the ETD worksheet to the bottom on the title is what I'm talking about. So we'll run through this and show you how this kind of works. Okay everybody, we're going to give the bottom half of the sheet a try here. Okay, this is all based on real trip that I did. So I ended my prior night shift 22:30. You always want to make sure before you punch on duty, especially before you start driving, because you can always fix the things that aren't related to driving. But started on duty this next day, went to bed at 10:30. We got started at 08:32 in the morning. 14 hours from there 22:32. That's our drop dead time. We cannot be driving on a public road at this point. So this is all starting off from the Cleburne DC 6064. Let's start out logging what we're going to be doing from our dispatch. We're going to be driving to store 5613. It's 41 miles. We allocate 1 hour. When we get there, we're going to live unload because we got multiple stops. We have to live unload the first stop if we got multiple stops. There's no brainer on that. At Arlington, we allocate, the first one here, we average 50 miles per hour for our estimations of how long it will take. At a store, as a new driver, you want to pick an hour for every stop. Vendor, store, DC, choose an hour. It'll work, believe me. When you get down to Arlington, we're going to drive to store 5810. It is 16 miles away. We're going to allocate a half an hour drive time. I always round up to even half hours. I don't monkey around with anything less than a half hour increments. When we get there, we don't know if we're going to live unload or a drop and hook at this Dallas store. We're going to allocate 1 hour. This is all in our first dispatch of the day. Then we're going to drive to a vendor. I'm making up a number. 876543321. They're usually 8 digits. And it's 11 miles. I'm predicting a half an hour to get there. When we get there, we don't know whether we're going to live load or drop and hook at Lancaster. A lot of times I'll put the name of the company there, but I'm going to leave it off for now. And we're going to allocate 1 hour. Again, 1 hour at every store. Drop and hook, live load or unload, 1 hour. And the DC also. So we get done at Lancaster. We're going to drive to 6064, which is the Cleburne Grocery DC, 49 miles. Allocate 1 hour. You got to compensate for your time when you're there. You're going to have to drop and hook. Even though you don't have your next load, as a truck driver, you have to pull something. So we're going to allocate time for it. So drop and hook at Cleburne, 1 hour. So let's just say we're leaving the gate right now at 9 o'clock. It's first day of my work week. Let's just say that I'm a Cleburne driver assigned there. 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm at the gate, right? Because remember, calculate when you depart each location. You're entering this stuff in a computer so that you can get your next dispatch in a timely manner. So, we got all the work assigned. We're going to drive there. We're estimating that we will be there at 10 o'clock. An hour. We're going to live unload. We're estimating an hour. We'll be ready to leave there at 11 o'clock. Then we're going to drive 16 miles to store 5810. From 11 o'clock leaving, we're going to be there at 11:30. Dallas store, we're predicting we're going to be there an hour. 12:30. That's what we're estimating we're going to be leaving. Store 5810 at 12:30. We're going to drive. It's going to be 1300, which is 1 o'clock. We're going to drive 11 miles. That's the prediction. And when we get there, we don't know whether we're going to live load or drop and hook, but we're predicting it'll take an hour. That's 1400. We got to drive back to Cleburne. 49 miles, estimated hour. 1500. And an hour to drop and hook at the grocery DC. Because remember, we're telling them when we're going to be ready to roll with our next load. So 1600. Okay, 11 hour. Let's just say we were on yard moves in the yard, so we haven't used any of our 11-hour driving time clock. But we have to take off. Each one of these times here we've got to take off. Remember, these here are times, like the time of the day. These two are countdown clocks. Our daily clock and our weekly clock. Okay, so we got to drive an hour to get to the first store. That's going to bring us down to 10 hours remaining. We've got another half hour. That's 9.5 hours remaining. Got another half hour. 9 hours remaining. And an hour back to the DC. 8 hours remaining. Now I want to tell you something. Where is it here? At 1600 to 2230, that's only 6.5 hours. You're not going to have, you're going to have 6.5 because you cannot exceed your 14. Do not exceed your 14 end of day. So at 4 o'clock, we're going to have 6.5 hours of driving time for the day. Let's do our 70 here. Now, you're allowed to enter your truck and punch in on duty an hour before your departure time. So let's say this is 69 when we're going to the gate. Remember, we're calculating all the stuff when you depart. So we're at the gate. We're checked out. We got 69 hours left because we already ate up an hour getting logged in the truck and moving our stuff in. So now we're down to 68 hours, 67, 66.5, 65.5, 65 even, 64, 63, and 62 hours even. However, thanks to one of our CDT, Donald, he told me a quicker way to go about this because that was a lot of time elapsed. He says, just take your work days remaining. You can see here, remember, in this example, we're saying this is our first day of the week, and we work a 5-day schedule, 5 days on, 2 days off. So I'm going to take 56 plus the hours remaining today, and that's going to be 62.5. So this is what we're going to put in the computer when we're literally at the gate. We just pulled out the gate. We got checked out. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. We are going to enter for an ETD, estimated time of departure, that we will be at DC 6064 at 1600. We'll have 6.5 hours to drive for the day. And take your choice here. We'll say 62 hours for the work week. That is your ETD you're going to enter in the tablet, in the truck, when you depart. So we'll move on to part 2 here, and I'll show you what we do if there's a modification in there. Okay, we're going to work on part 2 here. This is assuming we haven't got our next dispatch. We're all doing this. A lot of times you may end up, grocery runs a little bit tighter schedule, so you may not get your dispatch before you get back. But when I get to a stop, some of these, like this one here, where I wasn't sure if I was going to live unload or drop and hook, well, it was a drop and hook. Then I headed over to the vendor here in Lancaster, and I want to show you what happens if something doesn't work. We got there, everything was running on schedule, on time, within 15 or 20 minutes. So let's say we got to Lancaster. Normally it's a drop and hook, but let's say they wanted to live load us. Let's say they didn't have any trailers there. Let's say they, instead of 1 hour, they took 4 hours. Remember how I told you this morphs? Well, this is the time we predicted we were going to depart this vendor. Let's just say we were there 4 hours. on a live load. You don't have to mark these here, but I'm just saying, let's say we got out of there. We're actually leaving at 1700. Well, you got an hour to drive to Cleburne, 1800. An hour to drop and hook there, 1900. These are real basic. So 1900, how much time do you got over here till your end of day? Well, we got 2000, 2100, 2200, 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours. And our 56 plus 3.5, that'd be 59.5. That's what we would be entering in our computer when we're leaving. Remember, calculate when you depart each location. When you leave, this is the actual time we're leaving. We're predicting the rest of our day. We haven't received another dispatch. Let's say you get back to the DC and you're like, man, it's friggin' 95 degrees out there. I'm sweaty as all get out. I'll take a shower. Just take an hour. It's easy. It might be a half hour. Somebody might be, the shower room might be tied up. Guess what? You went to 2000. Now you got 2.5. And it was 2.5 on the 50s. That's 58.5. So I can just show you how a delay at the vendor added on 3 hours. You added on another hour, but remember, you haven't received your next dispatch. So when you get there, you can update it if you haven't received your next dispatch. You can tell them, I'm at 6064. I'll be ready to roll out at 8 o'clock at night. I'll have 2.5 hours to drive today, 58.5 on my work week. And you just put it in the computer. You know, if you get a load come over like right then, like they sent one out right at that same moment in time, you can, go into dispatch and talk with them. You may have plenty of time to do the run that they've given you, or may need to modify, or you may scrap the idea of getting a shower. It's up to you. But I'm just trying to show you how these changes, you change your ETD as needed based on what you have to do. You just have to allocate your time. The main thing is, if you make a promise to them that you're going to be ready to roll at 8, it should be promises made, promises kept. If they just gave it to you, to be honest, they can take it away just as fast. You can go into the dispatch, say, look, I just got this one. And like I said, you got to weigh whether or not the time of the run, if it's a refrigerated load or a dry van, whether it's got to go straight out right now or tomorrow. Those are all variables that come into play.
In summary, accurate ETDs will keep you rolling and the money flowing. My ETD worksheet helps you instantly see if you are on schedule or not. This will allow you to modify your calculations as needed. I encourage viewers that have not watched the original Part 7 to take a look and compare. There is some good information about the basics for a good ETD calculation. If you would like a copy of my worksheet, either one, the first or second, please email me and I can send you the PDF.